Welcome into Emerald and Lilywhite. It is episode 33. It is transfer deadline day. In my opinion, the greatest day of the year, the most exciting episode of the year. I love transfer window. I know there's plenty of folks out there who despise what January is every year, but I love it. Max with me as well. You know him by now, going limbs. Max, I know you're kind of a January fan too, right?
Oh yeah, big time. I love the transfer window. 4:15 Pacific time, which means the window shut 1 hour and 15 minutes ago. So there's still some signings getting across the line. None for Spurs, as we've wrapped up and announced all of our January signings. So it was definitely an eventful January. Um, Definitely interesting in the context of the squad and how we managed it. So I'm not sure if either of us are completely thrilled about how we went about the business, but with the players that we brought in, I think we have to be somewhat pleased with how Levy operated this January.
Yeah, fully agreed. Let's recap for those viewing / listening. Obviously, early in the window, we bring in Tony Kinski, reportedly £12.5 million, or thereabout. Don't quote me on that, listener. It's been a while now, but address the goalkeeper position quite early. And then most recently, our second and third signings, as we all know by now. We'll jump right into the Kevin Danso signing, center back from Lens in France. Interesting one for me because it was reported that he wasn't a target. Actually, we were originally targeting Andy Diouf, who's I believe a 6 for them, 6/8, right? And then Abdul Qadir, who ends up at City, were the two players that we were scouting when we were sending members of the team to Lens. But we came across Kevin Danso in the process, and my understanding is that he's got power, pace, good on the ball. The makings of what you would expect from an Ange center back. Do you know much about Danso?
Not too much. Like I'm not an expert on him by any means. Yeah, he's got really good carrying and dribbling stats from what I saw on Transfer Market and Football Reference. So that's definitely a positive thing. I think what we saw here is kind of looking at the Dragusin profile and doing the opposite and making sure we bought a center back who is quite quick. I think him and Tomori are like really similar, and obviously we wanted Tomori first. Tomori didn't want us. We transitioned fairly quickly to Danso, and they're super similar profiles, pacey, decent on the ball, decent in possession, maybe both prone to a mistake at times, not like always squeaky clean back there, but for the most part, really solid center backs. And he's only 25 and Tomori's a bit older, so I can confidently say I'm happier signing Danso than I am Tomori, and he should be a good addition to the squad, and he better be fit and ready to go because it's seeming like he's gonna be starting this week in our most important game in 4 years, and it seems like he'll get a lot of minutes and he'll be either, I don't know if he's a Romero replacement, if that's what they're thinking, but regardless of if he is or not, he's going to be a great supplemental center back for that defense, which is just, as always, way too thin right now. And even with his addition, with the recent injury news we've heard from Jagazin and now Van de Ven, it seems like he's going to be in line for a lot of minutes this season.
Yeah, no doubt. I've got him pulled up here on Football Manager for those who partake in the wonderful game that is Football Manager. These rankings are out of 20 for those who don't play. Max, I know you do, right? But I've got Danzo pulled up here. and as much as I'm kind of joking right now, Football Manager tends to be pretty bang on with the way the players progress. So
And
he's
I had Tell in one of my saves, and we'll get to that soon.
no doubt, no doubt. Yeah. Leading the listener ahead there for sure. We're going to talk about Tell. But Danso puts up a 17 out of 20 for aerial, a 13 out of 20 for passing, a 14 out of 20 for tackling. Positioning 17 out of 20. I'm a big fan of that. Movement 14 out of 20. I'm a big fan of that. These are the big ones too. Pace 15 out of 20, stamina 14 out of 20, and strength 15 out of 20. So again, there's strength, pace, stamina, positioning, movement, tackling, passing, and aerial prowess, right? I think that speaks to an Ange profile. Again, this is a video game, but we're just doing our best to give the listener some sort of idea of what they can expect from a Kevin Danso.
And I could supplement that a little bit. So on Football Reference, fbref.com, 80th percentile of center backs for progressive passes, 94th percentile blocks, 85th percentile aerials won. Like there's some attacking statistics that are pretty good, 73rd percentile shot creating actions, and 85th percentile expected assists for center backs. So yeah. Seems like a decent enough passer, and like you said, really good in the air. So yeah, we'll see how he does in the Premier League, but it seems like a high. He may not be like a Romero or Van de Ven ceiling, but he seems like a low risk, like high floor guy that's going to be just consistent and solid for us, which is what we need.
No doubt, 100%. The importance of this too, we'll talk about it briefly. Radu Dragic, it does look like he will be having his ACL repaired across the bottom of the screen there now, and will be out for the rest of the season. It looked like a really nasty injury when it happened. It was no contact. It was, unfortunately, the dude just whiffed on a clearance, right, and came down incorrectly on his knee, which honestly, those non-contact knee injuries tend to happen after you take a swing at a ball and miss it, right? It's just kind of the nature of the injury. So it looked pretty bad from the jump. Knowing that we have Danso, obviously we'll remove the human element of this, which is we're heartbroken for Radu. This is a really tough time for him to come up with something like this. But from a Spurs perspective, are you super concerned about this?
Yeah, it's honestly terrible. Yeah, from all perspectives. The way you look at it, Dragic, he's had his ups and downs. He hasn't been the most reliable this year, but he has been reliable in terms of availability. Like he's almost played all of, like I think he's played 28 games this year, and much of those have been starting in the place of Christian Romero. So not having that is a blow. We hope that Danso can fill that void. But then with the news that Van de Ven might have another setback, we're just so thin at that position that it would have been nice to have Radu and Danso together, or just two options available for that right center back, and then three if Romero's available. And then secondly, it just shows you why we were pushing so hard for like Disasi, because obviously like he didn't want to come here and he's going to Villa, but we tried really, really hard to get him here. And that was because we knew that Dragic was injured. And then I think it's also because we didn't know at the time, but the club knew that there was something up with Van de Ven. And that's why we threw in some bids for Itakura from Mönchengladbach at the last minute. And then that Maxime, I forgot his last name, from Burnley, who's a left-footed center back. And Gehi, we offered 70 mil, but that was reported to be before Danso. But I assume that they wanted both. I mean, or they wanted Tomori, and I don't know what the plan was, but it seemed like they wanted two center backs, and I think that's evident with the injury news that we received. And then I'll throw it back to you because I'm kind of rambling right now. as like to focus on Dragic only for a second, like how do you think this impacts his career, his future at Spurs? Because this is a huge injury. Like he's not only missing the rest of this season, and he's only 22 or 23, but he's also going to miss. I think all of fall, and the timeline is probably going to be around December for him. So how do you think that bodes or obviously it doesn't bode well. How do you think that bodes period for
Mhm.
Radu at the club?
Yeah, I think the sensationalist view is that he never plays for Spurs again.
A
I think
possibility.
it's possible, right? I don't know if it's probable, but it's possible. Um, he he's never been the greatest fit for the Ange Postecoglou system. I don't think that's a surprise for anyone to hear me say, but he's a really good defender. I mean, a couple times where we've adjusted our tactics to absorb pressure and defend and find opportunities to transition / even counter, right? He's been really good. He was in the center back pairing that beat City. He was in the center back pairing that beat Liverpool 1-0. He's been in the starting lineup for some impressive victories, and those matches tended to come with a more defensive approach. So I think Radu has a very bright future and a high ceiling. I just don't know if it's at Spurs, right? So yeah, I wish him all the best. I really hope he gets back soon. I've done both of my knees, and I'm 36. I did one knee at 17 and the other at 20, I think. And I still think about those injuries when I play sports, and when I it's just kind of how it works when you do your knees. It never quite leaves you, right? So not excuse me. I certainly didn't have a professional medical staff and everything that comes
I,
with being a Spurs
I
player to get
mean,
me through
it
that.
could have been
But
better. It could have been better
yeah,
for you
yeah,
because
no doubt.
our fucking medical staff told him get back out there, mate. Like,
Yeah,
what is that? Like, what is that? We're wondering why people are getting injured. This dude literally tears his ACL, and then they tell him, like, you're fine, mate. Just get back out there. He tries
mm-hmm.
to play, and he's like, nah, I can't, I can't play. That
Yeah,
was insane. That's insane.
insane, man. Crazy. Well, and obviously we know that Romero and Van de Ven coming back early cost them, or potentially had an
Again,
impact in what costed them. And yeah,
has
let's
it
talk
cost
about
us
it quick.
again? Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about that quick. For those who maybe haven't heard, we're recording Monday night. You'll be hearing this Tuesday morning, I would assume, right?
It's
But
very vague right now. Like, we don't have a lot of details. So,
yeah, very vague. And I'll just kick it over to you, right? There's grumblings that Van de Ven is maybe re-aggravated, we could say would be the right word choice here. That injury that he's been battling, and vague in the sense that we haven't gotten anything concrete, but things are flying around Twitter. But yeah, man, why don't you let people know what you're hearing?
yeah. So, basically, O'Keefe was on Last Word on Spurs, saying that like Saturday night, Van de Ven wasn't feeling good after he did do 45 minutes against Elfsborg. And then he wasn't included in the squad. Was that yesterday against Brentford? Um, and I think that I don't know. I thought it was a little bit fishy yesterday, like that everyone's like super insistent that it was just for rest purposes. Like we're bringing him back. He's resting. He just played midweek, and we're managing his minutes. He's going to play against Liverpool. So you can't really argue with that as a fan,
Yeah.
especially with like his injury history. So we're all like, okay. But I bet in your mind, in the back of my mind, I'm like, you can still like put him on the bench. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know. Like you don't have to play him. Like half our bench doesn't play. You could still like he's a fit player. You should probably be on the bench just in case.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't fit. And I think like if we uh took a closer look at that hint yesterday, I don't think it's that surprising in hindsight. And now we're looking at a team with Danso, Davies, Archie Gray, and maybe Romero this week as the healthy center backs. But honestly, it's probably just those first three. And my thought right now is we don't have enough center backs. Because I think the plan would be for Davies to play some outside back as well, because we don't really have left back options. Spence is playing there now. Udogi's out, but Spence is the right back cover, and Gray is both. And it's a mess right now. And what I think above all is that it's continuing to force Archie Gray to play center back. And that's what's going to happen for the rest of the season, probably. And that's a real shame, because I thought Romero Van de Ven healthy. Maybe the schedule's clearing out a little bit. We don't have regular Europa. It's going to be a couple games. Carabao's coming to an end one way or another. Archie Gray is going to start playing some six, which is where I expect him to play next year, and where he should play. And that's just not going to happen anymore. And I think he's the best six we have. And it's a real shame that he's playing center back. Obviously, he's doing a great job. But I think how good he's been at center back makes it even more frustrating that we can't see him at six in his natural position.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, there's always hope that in the next couple of minutes we do announce that we've panic bought a center back, right? But I don't know. Panic buys don't fill me with hope either, right? So there's a bit of a mess at the back for sure. I think we still can hold on to the hope too that the things that we're hearing about Van de Ven are unsubstantiated rumors, right? We know that there was a tweet that was put out by somebody that's not even reputable, or at least to my knowledge, right? And things kind of snowballed, but I also don't think those come out of nowhere. So we'll see. Yeah. I think, Paul O'Keefe hasn't said anything that makes me think it's long-term, but
he's not really reassuring people.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he was, so to give you, just to lay it all out there, this random bloke on Twitter, as one does, we're all joyous from the Mathys Tel signing. And he says, actually, guys, Mickey Van de Ven's out for the season. He needs surgery. So obviously, like, Twitter just, like, it set ablaze by that. And then O'Keefe is on the podcast talking about it. And then he responds to the tweet. He's like, that nothing's been confirmed yet. Nothing that serious has been confirmed yet. So we don't know if there's surgery, but it's not like he's like, he doesn't need surgery. Like he did not say, he was like, nothing that hasn't been confirmed. That to me is not very, like, I don't know, encouraging. Like he's just like, yeah, they haven't announced his season-ending surgery, but he's not saying that it's not a possibility. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, 100%. All we can do is hope for the best. We're going to get to the center back pairing a little bit further when we talk about the Liverpool match. But before we do, let's talk about some good news. And I'm actually I've got my little Spurs Santa hat here, and I saw this off to the side right before we recorded. And it's Christmas around Spurs with what we're about to talk about, so I felt like it was fitting to throw the Santa hat on, because Spurs, in a drastic turn of events, have officially announced and signed Mathys Tel on loan, but with a 47 million euro buy option at the end of the season.
Bang.
Massive. I think I was a little more comfortable with the nature of the pure loan than you were, right, this morning in the group chat. And
chat, we definitely, there was some differences happening in the group chat, but hey, it doesn't matter anymore.
It's done. 47 million buy option at the end of the season. And, I think the idea from you is that, sure, he'll do a job, but we're really not building into the project if we're just loaning players who are going to play a lot of minutes, right? And I was, of the mind maybe that, yes, I agree with you 100%, and I much prefer that it's not a loan. But right now we've got a couple of cups on the horizon that are winnable, and if he can help us win a trophy, and that's what it is, then so be it. We'll kick the can down the road and deal with the bullshit later. Was maybe my thought process, right? But all good, because like you said, it's done and dusted. It's in the past. He's a Spurs player for at least the rest of the season. And then again, with that 47 million euro buy option on the table, anything can happen.
Contract is 6 years. Like with
6
that,
years.
like if we trigger it, it triggers the 6-year deal for him.
So do you think we actually end up signing him permanently?
Oh, dude, 100%, man.
Yeah,
We
same.
already offered 60 million. I don't know how many euros we offered. I know we offered $60 million, which is around like 50 million euros, I think.
Yeah.
So whatever it may be, that the direct financials don't matter. We pretty much offered them this deal like in January to get him permanently. I don't know exactly I don't know what would have to happen for us to not buy him. Like he's still going to be 20 when
Yeah.
we're buying him this summer. And like even if he doesn't have the best loan, like he's still worth that investment to me at his age, with the experience he's already had for like a top club and just being one of the most talented teenagers in the world right now. I don't see how we don't buy him. Like I genuinely don't. Unless there's like a dispute between him and the club and like this goes really badly and he's like, I'm not going to sign the contract even if you're trying to buy me or whatever. I don't know how that works. I don't know if he's already signed on and the option is only up to the club and there's no player. I don't know, but if I had to bet money, I would almost guarantee he will be at Tottenham for the next 5 years.
I tend to agree. I think it's really good business from the club.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant business.
These are the types of deals that let Levy finesses, right? We all
and
know
you
that.
know it was him too.
100%.
You know it was him.
Well, not only did we shave 3 million euros off the top by Mathys Tell holding pattern for 2 days, right? But we gave ourselves a chance to get out of a bad situation if it doesn't work out. And I agree. I think he doesn't have to light the world on fire on the pitch for me to be comfortable making the signing. But things like you said, not settling in or not enjoying London, deciding it's not the right place for him. Maybe for whatever reason, Ange just does decide this dude is a round piece for a square peg, and it just doesn't make sense after the last 6 months or whatever. There's all kinds of things that could go in any number of directions. And then we don't bring him in permanently and save ourselves 47 million euros. The interesting thing here too is that they still owe us money for Kane, and so I think in a lot of ways it just kind of gives us leverage there, right? Nothing is set in stone, and we could very well Bayern pisses us off and say, yeah, we're not triggering the tell clause. We need our 50 million. On time and promptly for Kane, and so be it. Again, I don't expect these things to happen, but just showing the acumen from Levy. I think Levy can be a dipshit in a lot of ways, but he's also really good at structuring deals in a way that benefits the club, and they tend to be very unique. So another one of these for sure.
Yeah, and shout out to Ange Postecoglou. According to all reports, Ange got on the phone with Tell this morning. And this was when we just thought it was going to be a straight loan because that's what Fabrizio reported this morning, and he was just wrong. So, shout out to him. He's ruining football. But, yeah, so Ange gets on the horn. He's like, he gives him the pitch. And when Ange knocks, it's a different knock. We've seen it with Bergvall Gray. I don't know what he's telling these young players, but they want to come play for Tottenham, Odebear. Although, and not to like discredit Danso or anything, but he is not like, he's the type of player, which I love from Danso, that it just seems thrilled to be at Tottenham. Like really, really, it's a step up in his career. He's absolutely thrilled. And Tell is the player, he's coming from Bayern Munich, where he's also played games. He scored 10 plus goals last year as an 18-year-old. He's got Arsenal, United, Villa also coming in, wanting him to play for their club. So this is the type of guy where you need to recruit and you need to put everything into it. And for him to eventually agree, and apparently I don't know, you're the one that told me this. I don't know where you heard it. Harry Kane to tell him that it would be a good move for his career. That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just awesome. And I think if it was just a straight loan, I would be pissed. he's a good player. I don't think his best year will be this year for Tottenham. It's going to be in 2 or 3 years. And I would just be so annoyed to carry more water for Bayern Munich. Like, I'm sorry, man. Like, like we gave you Harry Kane. Now you want us to develop your young star for 4 months and then give him back to you. Nah, that's not what's happening. He's ours now.
Yep.
And I'm absolutely thrilled to see him play for Tottenham. Like, he's the type of guy where you sign him. Like, we had this with Archie Gray. We signed this guy. Like, this is a guy you want to buy the kit, like you want to invest because he's going to be a superstar.
Yep.
And he fits our timeline perfectly as well.
Yeah, fully agreed. Massive signing. This guy is a real deal. I really believe that. Yeah, I think the only other question or talking point on Tell is where he applies his trade primarily for Spurs, and we do know that he sees himself as a center forward, as a 9, right? But very capable on the wing. I think probably not as capable as a 9 on the.
I think he's
on the
better
wing.
as a 9 as well.
I
I had him
agree.
in Football Manager.
Mhm.
He led me to a Europa League final with Roma, which was pretty sick. And he was really good in that save. And
Mhm.
I also had players on loan like Szoboszlai, Arda Güler. Not to give any like reference to this video game as what he's going to do for Spurs, but he did absolutely lead me to Europa League final as a center forward. And I think he fancies himself as center forward. And he's really similar to Richarlison in that way. So, and I think like if Richarlison goes, like he is Richarlison, like he can play on the wings, but like he thinks he's a striker, and I think he's best at striker. So we'll see if they keep them both together because they do provide that flexibility. But I think in the long term, he's gonna be best through the middle.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think there's a world where it allows us to move on Richarlison over the summer, right, and have Dom and Mathys Tell as our 2 center forwards. Football Manager stats, we're going to pull out the same thing like we did with Danso. He puts up a 16 out of 20 for dribbling and 18 out of 20 for shooting / finishing, right? 14 out of 20 for technique, 13 out of 20 for creativity, 14 out of 20 for decision making, 14 out of 20 for movement, 17 out of 20 for pace, 14 out of 20 for stamina, and 14 out of 20 for strength. So I think when I think of the way that Ange Postecoglou is going to ask a center forward to play, and again, he's going to get minutes out wide. We know this, right? But if we're looking from the perspective of a center forward, obviously the finishing, the dribbling, I think is actually quite important. Pace is always nice to have, but it's really, I think the strength, the movement, and the decision-making that stand out to me too from an Ange center forward. I think those are things Dom does really well, and Mathys Tell playing alongside Dom will be good. I mean, Mathys Tell's played alongside Harry Kane for the past 18 months, so
yeah,
he's learned a thing or two, you would imagine. And it was, on that note, it was Give Me Sport that put out an article this afternoon sometime that Harry Kane was a big part of why Mathys Tell opened up and changed his mind on the move to Spurs. It sounds like Harry Kane gave him a lot of advice, pointing him in the direction of taking the opportunity. So appreciate you for that, Kane. Don't appreciate the way that you left the club, but appreciate you helping get Mathys Tell, and obviously Kane listens. So.
And people are kind of downplaying his 1v1 ability, I feel like. Because people are like, all right, don't expect like the 1v1 winger. He's more of a Kolo Muani type. I think he's way better at dribbling than Kolo Muani. Personally, successful take on to 86th percentile, according to Football Reference. And then Football Reference pulls up like similar statistical profiles based on these like percentiles, and the top 3 for him are Rafa Leao for Milan, Luis Diaz for Liverpool, which I'm not like Luis Diaz. You're not expecting him to 100% be that 1v1 winger because he is like kind of an end product guy as well. And I think Tell is more of the end product guy than Leao and Diaz, but Luis Diaz, Leao, and Madueke, former Spurs Academy lad, RIP Noni for Chelsea now, but he's had a great season. And I think those are all good comparisons for him, at least on the wing. And then through the middle, they don't really have much. They do compare him to Sonny, number 9 on the list, which is really interesting. So we'll see. They also have names like Ahmed Diallo, Danny Olmo, Adama Traore, Rodrigo, and Mason Greenwood. So fuck Mason Greenwood, but yeah, it's a good group besides Mason and Adama, I'd say.
Yep. Yeah. I'm excited, man. I'm really happy the club got this done. Before we get our window ratings out there, I'm going to ask you what your window is out of 10. But before we do that, just a couple of housekeeping items from an outgoing perspective. Will Lancashire is loaned out to West Brom. Young Min Hyuk is loaned out to QPR, has already featured for them. Alfie Dorrington on loan to Aberdeen. And then Dane Scarlett, as we all know well by now, is returning permanently. It's interesting. I deleted Twitter off my phone like 6 weeks ago, and I rely 100% on
morning footy.
In morning footy for sure. I mean, every single day. I maybe have the highest watch ratio of anyone on the planet when it comes to morning footy. So if y'all are listening and you ever need a guest feature, you know who to call.
Thanks, give him a call.
Y'all also have way too many Arsenal fans, and I could balance that out a little bit on those panels. But yeah, so morning footy is my primary source. But because of these things, without Twitter, I honestly had no idea Dane Scarlett was back until he was named on the bench in the match on Thursday night. I had no clue. I had a double. I'm like, Dane Scarlett, who's not at the club. Oh, he is at the club. And then the dude comes on and scores an absolute banger, which we're going to talk about that too. Don't worry, listener. We will get to just briefly
this
Thursday
week.
Night. Yeah,
because we did get 2 wins this week worth talking about at some point. But
yeah. So we'll briefly touch on that. We got a lot to talk about. So we're going to look more forward than backwards on this episode, right? But we will touch on that. But just wanted to round out the window, cover those outgoings. But yeah, out of 10, how do you rate the window, Max?
Yeah, before I give my rating, I'll just touch on this real quick. Lancashire, West Brom is in a playoff spot, so that's good to note. This is going to be like a legit push for them. So I hope he starts for them. That would be awesome. Yang looked fucking great in 10 minutes for QPR. Like the QPR fans were going crazy on Twitter. Literally first clip, he gets a 1-2, takes on his guy, bangs a shot. It's saved and nearly went in. Dorrington, rough start. Got subbed on for Aberdeen in a 3-0 loss and made an error leading to a goal. Don't love to see that. But overall, with the window, if you had asked me 2 hours ago before I knew about Mickey Van de Ven, I probably would have given like a 6.5 to 7.
Mm-hmm.
Now with the Van de Ven injury, I think depending on its severity, like if Mickey's out for the season, then it's like a 4. It's a 4 because we're still so thin. If Mickey is out for a week or he's just misses this Thursday, then I'll give it like a 6. I'll give it a 6 because I felt like they did try to get center backs, but it's like, why do we have to wait till the weekend before the deadline to try and get these players? Quite annoying. I did think 2 defenders and an attacker. I would have been open to another attacker as well. Ideally, probably had gone 2 defenders, 2 attackers, and the goalkeeper. We just got one of each. That would have been a 10 for me, but I think like a 6, 6.5. It remains to be seen with the Van de Ven injury because that could knock it down a good couple ratings. How about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 5.5. I'm right in between a 5 and a 6. I think the Tell signing is fantastic. I still would have liked to have seen us bring in an out-and-out winger to pair with Mathys Tell, and I would have loved another center back. I'm actually pretty excited about Danso, but it came out that we had been interested in Danso quite early in January and originally came in 5 mil under what we ended up paying for him and negotiated for a couple of weeks. You hear all kinds of shit, so who knows, right? But it feels like we could have just pulled the trigger on that one a little bit earlier. And I know that things probably fell through with Tomori, which factored into this, right? And Potentially even Gahey, which I'm not a huge fan, so I'm not heartbroken over that one, right? But
70 mil, by the way,
70 mil, it's a lot of
which
money.
is fucking insane. Like, wow, that's crazy. But
Yeah,
that kind of makes sense why they were willing to offer 60 for Tell. Like, I
yeah.
doubt we would have gotten both.
No, I agree 100%. So yeah, I'll give it a 5.5. I think we're still very light of center back, even if Radu and Van de Ven didn't get injured or
I
re-injured
I
in that.
think we would have been okay if everyone's healthy. Then we have Romero, Van de Ven, Radu, Danso, and Davies
Days.
and Gray.
Yeah, you're right.
I would have been a lot more comfortable, but now it's like we got three dudes,
Yeah,
and one of them's never played for us before, and one of
yeah,
them's an 18-year-old six.
yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah. Well, yeah.
But I think in the context of this season, it's like like a 6 to 5 range.
Mhm.
Like depending on how Matthias Tell like what he does at Tottenham, like we could look back and be like, this was like a monumental moment because we've talked so much about Bergvall and Gray and Mikey Moore and even the other guys in the academy, like Lancashire, for example, or like Jamie Donnelly, Divine, like we've dedicated so much time to those guys in the summer. Tell is like before this Archie Gray like breakout, I'd say, and I'd say Tell would have been the top of that list. Like he would have been number one, like the
Yeah,
number one prospect that we have, the number one youngster teenager that we have, and he probably is. He honestly probably is.
I agree.
Besides Mikey Moore, who I think could reach that fairly soon, reach what Tell's done. But as of right now, he is the best teenager that we have, and that's saying something because our project is insane with Bergvall and Gray right now and more. And we're seeing that play out in the Elfsborg game.
Yeah, and I'm sure most people know this by now, but 19 years old, Matthias Tell is an experienced men's footballer. Like he has played significant amount of minutes in the Bundesliga, right? This isn't somebody from another academy. This isn't, an exciting one for the future. It is, right? But there's many Bayern fans, and I know one very well. I podcast with a Bayern fan regularly. Bayern expected him to be their starting center forward starting last season. And there was actually a handful of Bayern fans or a sect of the Bayern fan base that was actually upset that Kane came in because they were worried that it was going to stunt Matthias Tell's growth. And they wanted to see him as a center forward for the club. And maybe felt that Kane was going to draw too much attention away from the group, right? And put too much focus on one singular person from an attacking perspective. And they didn't win a trophy for the first time in 12 years. So maybe there's something to that, right? But all this is to say that Matthias Tell is the real deal. And this isn't just some random teenager we buy, right? He is ready to contribute from minute one, in my opinion.
And like, would you think about like Mikey Moore, Tell, and Odebear? Like that could be a front three. Like, like that's insane. And then behind them, you could have Bergvall, Gray, insert whoever else, and that's just ridiculous. It's
I mean,
ridiculous.
honestly, if you look at, let's just say hypothetically 3 years from now, all things are possible. Maybe not probable, but all things are possible here. 3 years from now, you have Vicario, maybe even Kinski, Vicario / Kinski, we'll say. Then you've got Spence, Romero, Van de Ven, Udogi, Sarr, Bergvall, Gray, Mikey Moore, Matthias Tell, Wilson
Odebear, Solanke as well.
Exactly. I mean, that lineup right there competes for the Premier League in 3 to 4 seasons.
Oh, it's fucking insane. Like,
No.
I'd say Odebear aside, I think he's like a tier below, but Moore, Tell, Bergvall, and Gray, like those are world class. Like that is genuine world class.
Yep.
Like the talents that we have. They're not world class yet, but those are the type of players that like the Modric, Bale. I'm not saying they're going to be that, but
Mm-hmm.
those are the type of talents that we have. I think Odebear is the type of player that becomes like a really good winger, like
Yeah.
a really good Premier League winger. I don't think he's gonna be Vinicius, but he's gonna be really good as well. And then when you have, in my opinion, two world-class center backs, if they can stay healthy and we can keep them at Tottenham, genuinely insane. And then with the way Spence has been going, and I still think Udogie has that potential, like from what we saw last year,
Mm-hmm.
that's ridiculous. Sarr, I think, is more in that Odebear, like really good Premier League footballer. Like we kind of thought he was going to be Yaya Toure last year for a bit, but then I think we kind of came back down to earth. But dude, he just bagged a goal. He's a great squad player to have, and he runs his ass off too. And then when you think about what can we do with Madison Kulusevski, we have those options at our disposal. Will they be here? Who knows? And then not to mention like Jamie Donnelly, Alfie Devine. We just signed 3 brand new 18-year-olds from other Big Six clubs that I will go over at the end of this show. But it's gonna be crazy. And Ola Cisse and Ola Cisse, who looked wonderful in his brief appearance. And then you also got Dane and Damola, who just bagged goals against Elfsborg. Like, I don't know if those guys are going to be long-term contributors, but who's to say that they won't? It's really exciting. And then also now I'm looking at the ledger underneath here. Yang, we haven't even mentioned Yang that much, and he looks really good too. And I think he's like in that Odebear level. He's going to get used to England, but he's going to be a really good Premier League player as well. And especially being with Sonny, who can really help him. That's huge for Yang to have like a fellow countryman that speaks his language and can help him adjust to England. So it's just a crazy exciting project. Like Tell just makes it so much. It's just insane when you actually think about the talent that we have. And I really hope that we don't sell them. That's just the main thing.
Yeah, for sure. I know, right? And it's always on the table with Spurs. But yeah, all credit to the club for the work that they're doing, setting us up for the future. I'm excited. It's a change of pace, right? It's kind of back to the old ways, but with more money, I think is really all it is, right? So I'm happy to see what the club is doing. Let's talk briefly about this past week. We know at this point that Spurs came away with 2 big victories. Like we said, we're not going to touch on them too in depth because there's still a lot to talk about before we wrap up this show. But let's start with Elfsborg. We've kind of bled into some of that. The only thing at this point that I can imagine the listener hasn't heard out of all the other types of media that we consume as Spurs fans, right? They've heard tactical breakdowns, all of that. But I just want to talk about those 3 goals. We're big on this show about the academy, right? It's a big part of what we do here. And I think we just got to take a few minutes to talk about really all 3 of those goals. And there's probably a decent amount of fans who didn't catch at the time that was Mikey Moore's first ever goal for the first team, which doesn't really feel that way because he's contributed, I think, quite a bit at this point. But yeah, just a massive moment for the club on Thursday night.
Oh yeah, it was amazing. It was incredible. Dane Scarlett, that moment is just awesome, dude. Like he's been through a lot. Like he was dubbed multiple coaches, Mourinho. I'm blanking on another one's name, but like this dude is like Mourinho. Jose Mourinho is saying like this guy is a diamond. Like that was his quote. Dane Scarlett makes his debut age of 16, and he's had some rough loans. Like he was okay for Oxford, but they just had another striker that was playing over him. Tottenham thought it would be best to bring him back. First game, he gets his opening goal, and like the fans we've been waiting for that Dane Scarlett goal for a long time. And that felt really good. And it's going to be an exciting opportunity for him to show if he gets more game time. I think Tell does hurt his chances with that for the rest of the spring, but it's going to be interesting what happens with Dane. Yeah, I bet we both probably had so much Dane Scarlett stock. I admittedly have sold all of mine. I think on this podcast, when I repeatedly said all summer I thought Troy Parrott and Will Langshear were better than him. Hey, but I would still love to see that come to fruition with Dane Scarlett. So that was really special. Damola Ajayi kind of come out of nowhere. If you've listened to this podcast, you would have known who he was because I have talked about him before. Because whenever we did the Academy watch, like he scored a lot of goals for our U21s.
Yeah.
I was never sure he was going to be one of those guys that got the real shot with the first team because I think he's 19 now, so he's older, a little bit older than some of the guys that are breaking through into the first team. Hey, but he made his mark, and it would be sick to see him getting more minutes because he can play out on the wing, and we definitely need that. And then, yeah, Mikey Moore, like he's 17. He's our youngest ever goal scorer. Jimmy Greaves' record broken, which is really insane. One of the greatest players to ever put on the Tottenham shirt. And I mean, Mikey, like it's just the start of like an era. That's what that goal is. I think it's more of a feel good story for the other two, but Mikey, like he's gonna be the guy. Like he is going to be the guy, and that was a really special moment, and I'm so happy for him. And he got a Premier League start at the weekend as well, and I'm so excited to see what he does. Because now he's gonna get minutes. Like it's clear he's back from being sick. This spring is the start of the era, and then next year it's gonna be in full swing, which is really awesome.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. I think with Dane and Ajayi, I would just say that first of all, I'll say I think they both will have great careers as professional footballers. I don't know if it's in the Premier League, right? Maybe I could. I just don't know. Those goals could be one of the more highlighted standout moments at the end of their career, depending on how things go, right? Where Mikey Moore, that's the first goal, but Mikey Moore is going to accomplish things that I would expect neither of the two aforementioned accomplish, right? I completely agree with that. Mikey Moore is really something special. The way he picked up that ball in the midfield, the strength to hold off the defender, and then he just drove as any instinctive, I don't want to say striker, but attacking minded player would, right? He just drove, and in the post-match interview, they put out a really cool piece of social media where all three of them kind of talked through those goals, right? And Mikey said, I knew I was shooting. He's like, I had seen my name in lights, and he credited Jermaine Defoe, which I thought was super cool for a lot of work that he's been doing with him. But he's like, as soon as I saw the space open up, I drove, and he said, I saw my name in lights, and I was shooting 100% of the time. And knew exactly that he wanted to put the ball through the legs of the defender and go far post across the face of goal, and he put it away. It looked a little bit slower, I think, slow rolling than it actually was, like when it happened in the moment for me, right? I saw that happen in slow motion, but just a wonderful finish and a wonderful goal for Mikey. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, like, we talk about 3 years from now, like, what if that, because you see that and you think about Mikey Moore's like potential as a footballer. Is he a winger? Like, I think his prime might be in the number 10 spot. Like, if he's really like, you see a goal like that, like you think about like Hazard is a name that comes to mind for me. Like, what if we had Tell and Odebear flanking Solanke, and then we had more Bergvall and Gray? Like, can you imagine? Like, it's just, I don't know. The possibilities are endless. It's just really exciting. It feels so good to get excited about stuff like Tell and then Mikey Moore's first goal and other academy players, because it's just been so bleak for like we hadn't won a Premier League game until yesterday since December 15th. So just let's keep it going. Let's keep the momentum up. Because we got a big week ahead.
Yeah, well, the last thing I'll say about those 3 goals in that match too is that moment the club needed desperately. It connected the fans to the manager to the fans. I think the manager to the team to the fans. In so many different ways. It just started to repair some broken pieces of what is Tottenham Hotspur right now. That moment. Can you imagine if our 3 goals on the night come from, let's just say, Timo, Richarlison, and I don't
Ben
know,
Davies header.
Ben Davies or something. Yeah, great, right?
There'd be some tweets like, "Hey, shout out Ben Davies," and that would be it.
That would be it. But we'd be on a pod saying, "Well, kind of a shit match, but we got it done against Elfsborg, and we're through to the round of 16." But because of that moment, it really galvanized the club in a way that nothing else really could have, in a moment where we just desperately needed something like that. And I think it's a huge part of why we come out and beat the pants off of why am I drawing a massive blank right now? Brentford on Sunday, right? And when I say beat the pants off Brentford, we did it. Well, but I think tactically and the way that we approached that match, we beat Brentford pretty handily, right? Statistically, we did not. They had more of the ball. I felt like they created more chances, but our game plan worked really, really well. Before we talk about that, though, we'll just remind the listeners, Spurs do advance to the round of 16 in the Europa League with the win at Elfsborg, or at home to Elfsborg, right? Lock up that round of 16 seed, and means that we don't have to play 2 matches in the knockout stages, which is massive for this club right now, who has half of a first team, right, and can't stop finding matches in front of them. So yeah, we're through. Potential opponents are AZ Alkmaar out of the Netherlands, Midtjylland out of Denmark, Real Sociedad out of La Liga, and then Galatasaray, who we've already played this year, out of the 2.
We played AZ Alkmaar.
Oh, and you're right. We did play AZ Alkmaar as well. So 2 of these 4 opponents we've already seen. I think Midtjylland is one that we would expect to be pretty handily, and Real Sociedad could be a bit of a challenge for whoever comes up against them, right? So a lot to be seen.
I
But
think Galatasaray is tough too.
Agreed. You think they're the toughest opponent, Galatasaray?
No, I think Sociedad. I think we already played Galatasaray, and honestly, they were pretty shit, and they were at home, and we just played bad.
Yeah.
But Sociedad, I would be a little bit scared of, just because like Spanish teams, they always do well in these competitions.
Mm-hmm.
Alkmaar, I would love to play. We just we didn't play very well, but it was like a pretty simple win for us. And then Mitch, whatever, Denmark team, like we're killing them. But yeah, I want to open that up. My offer, hey, if Troy Parrott scores, I'll give one listener a Seattle Spurs scarf. Round 2. Round 2. Let's go. You got 2 more games.
You gotta like and subscribe.
You have to show proof, subscribe, like, DM us a screenshot. If Troy Parrott scores, you're getting a scarf. You're getting a scarf courtesy of me.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, shout out Troy Parrott. He's
shout
been
out
good
Troy
this year
Parrott,
again.
And shout out Spurs for getting to the round of 16. We really needed that. Let's talk about Brentford. Good win. Like I said, I think we came out tactically with a plan to beat them, and we did. I really think what happened personally is Ange just definitely starting to recognize more and more what needs to happen with what's at our disposal. The fullbacks were much more reserved in this match. But I really think Ange took the approach of, okay, you're going to sit back and you're going to look to get forward and break on us like every team who beats us does. And you've probably watched that and you've probably seen that. So I assume that's your game plan. I'm going to give you all of the ball and see how you react to that, right? I think he really just put them in a position where their game plan was just ripped up and tossed out in minute 10, and then they just had to try to play football. the way that they tend to, and we were prepared for it. It was a much different approach than we've seen from Ange, was it not?
Yeah. We honestly kind of got dominated. I think they got 2.3 XG to our under one
Yeah.
something. But I mean, we absorbed the pressure well. Like, I thought Kinski was really good.
Yep.
Like, it was balls in the box all day.
Yep.
I don't know if we keep a clean sheet there with Vicario. So props to him. Props to Archie Gray. Archie Gray gave a great interview after the game, um, outlining the importance of Ben Davies and how he is just a great partner, talking Archie through the whole game, is what he said. Which is sick to hear. And then I thought our second goal in transition was just a really good goal. Everyone on the team touched the ball, which was cool to see. There was like a Twitter video, like highlighted each name when they touched the ball, capped it off with a star finish there. Another Sun assist, like 2 assists for Sonny. Shout out to Sonny, man. Like he's gotten so much hate this year, dude. He just keeps delivering, man. Like we didn't podcast for a bit, but like he had a brace against Hoffenheim. He was cooking against Elfsborg, 2 assists against Brentford. Like this dude's just coming through in the clutch. And yeah, so shout out to him, shout out to the team. And just he just out Thomas Franked like Thomas Frank. That's what happened.
Exactly.
And it was great. It was like my friend who supports Liverpool, always says good teams win 2-0. So it's always nice to get a 2-0 win.
Yep.
It's been eons since we've had one. So good teams win 2-0. We won 2-0. And now we move on to Liverpool.
Yeah, let's talk Liverpool. I think, like we said, we wanted to keep these last 2 matches this past week brief. We want to talk about what's ahead. Spurs travel to Anfield on Thursday to take on Liverpool in the second leg. A little bit of a typo there on the screen for the viewer. I apologize. The second leg, not the second left, of the Carabao Cup Semi-Final, and do hold a slender 1-0 advantage after winning 1-0 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium almost a month ago. I think it's safe to say every Spurs fan is going to shit themselves through Thursday's match, right? It's going to be a really, really dicey affair. I believe we can go and get it done. My question to you is somewhat open-ended, but what is your vibe? What's the vibe check going into this one?
I mean, I think we can do it. Like, I think we can do it. I just want it to happen so bad. Like, I'm not like typically. I think I consider myself a bit of a realist. I consider myself somewhat of a ball knower. Any third-party ball knower is going to tell you that we're going there and we're holding 4.
Yeah,
we're holding 5. But at the Spurs fan in me, for this specific scenario, like if this was just any old league game, whatever, dude, I'll predict a loss. We have to get this done. Like, we genuinely have to for the sake of the fan base. We're winning it. I think the biggest thing is that we are up 1-0. Can we get a draw? Can we get a point? We've got a point there before. I think we can do it again. I genuinely think we can do it again. I don't think that this will finish 1-0. We're going to need to score. If we want to advance, we have to score. We cannot rely on defending at all. So that's my analysis. Like, there's going to be goals in there. I don't know if it's going to take 1 or 2 from Tottenham to get us through in the end, but it's going to take a goal. We can't go in there and expect to just sit back and win 1-0. That's not going to work. So I just hope so badly that we can get through.
Yeah, it's well said. I think 1 goal from Spurs gives us a chance, and 2 goals, us scoring, right? When I say this, 2 goals gives us a good chance of getting through. I think we'll come out quite defensive. I do think we'll look to absorb pressure and find opportunities to break against a Liverpool team who's going to leave a lot of space behind their back line. And with a guy like Heung-min Son, who honestly is an absolute master at getting behind a high line.
That's the guy.
That's what he's done his whole career, you know?
That's all I can think about. Like if we're winning, Sonny will be a part of it in some
100%.
way. Like he is the X factor for us. And it feels like I don't want to just like hype this game up to too much, but like this could be like his culminating performance. Obviously, Man City Champions League. Like, do you know who I am? That was awesome. Can he get it done for us? Like that would be so special. And I feel like it's gonna be him. Like if we're scoring, it's gonna be him, especially like you just said, in a Liverpool team that we're going to look to counterattack.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I look back on Sonny's career, it was always Harry Kane, right? It seems poetic that if we do end up winning a trophy this year, that it's Sonny that lifts that trophy for the club after such a hiatus or such a time away from winning them, right? I really think that, and there's going to be people who disagree with me, that's fine. But I think this is the second most important game in Heung-min Son's Tottenham career after the Champions League final. And I say that because there is so much pressure on this team to win this match. The trophy drought, and Postecoglou coming out and saying he wins a trophy in his second year, the terrible season we're having in the Premier League, so much relies on us winning something in the form of a cup competition this season, right? I really feel that way. And we've been in Carabao Cup finals with Sonny. We've been in FA Cup semis. There's been big domestic matches for Son Heung-min, but those were seasons where getting knocked out of the League Cup wasn't going to be devastating for the club because it was competing for top four, even the Premier League in a couple of those seasons, right? But we need this so badly for this club right now because if we get knocked out, we have the FA Cup in front of us. We've got a really tough tie that we're going to talk about here briefly on Sunday. The Europa League is always on the table, but I feel like if we don't get through in this match, we really only have the Europa League to put our baskets into. And the FA Cup is there, right? But there's a lot of good teams left in that. There's 32 teams left.
It's
a lot
fucking
of
hard, man. It's hard. Like, look at what we went through to get to this point in the Carabao, and that's what the FA Cup is going to be like. Like, it's going to be hard. And I completely agree. I just think, like, if our trophy odds right now are at, let's put them at 25%, we win a trophy this year. If we lose this match, they're 10%. Exactly. It's just, it's you can't understate how big this match is for Tottenham. And when you put it in context that Liverpool probably doesn't really care that much, but it's still Anfield. It's just going to be soul crushing if we can't get through, especially with the lead. Liverpool, they're looking to do like the double or the treble if they can. But they're looking at the league and the Champions League. Those are the top two priorities. And coming in with a lead to Anfield, like, can we get it done? I don't know. It's going to be crazy. Whatever happens, it's just going to be ridiculous. And I don't even know that it would be possible for either side of the result for us to refocus for a FA Cup game on Sunday. Yeah. Like, if we win, it's going to be insane. Like, we're going to be so happy. I don't know how well the squad will be responding to another do or die game after that. And then if we lose, it could flip the complete opposite direction. And rather than like, oh, we got to get up for the FA Cup, it's like, it's demoralizing to come so close. And then okay, now we got to do this all again to get to that point. So it's honestly, it's crazy.
It is. And I think we can expect Ange to put as much emphasis into this match as we are right now. I mean, of course we can, right? We all know he will. And I think he'll come out with a unique plan. I think, the first match was somewhat unique. I think maybe the question I'll ask you is, if Van de Ven's not good to go on Thursday, which it's becoming more and more likely that he's not good to go, who's your center back pairing?
You know what I might do? I think Danso is gonna. I think I would play Danso. And what I personally would do is I would put Ben Davies at left center back, and I would put Archie Gray at right back, and Spence at left back. That's what I would do.
Interesting.
Dude, Porro is such a liability, man. Like, I can't stress enough how much of a defensive liability Porro is.
Agreed.
If we actually want to start him, like, Archie's not the fastest, but at least I can count on him to be in position.
Yeah, Porro. I honestly think the only thing Porro gives you in this match is just like
the potential to break. Yeah,
totally. Well, that, but also just his like. The dude is so fucking passionate.
Yeah, passion.
He gives everything, and you need a guy like that in this match. But I'm with you. I think I would do the same exact thing now,
because you can't have Gray or Davies marking Mo Salah. That has to be Spence.
Agreed. So the only thing that I would say is, if for some reason it comes out that Van de Ven's able to play, I would still. For sure. I would play, if Van de Ven can go, I would go Spence at right back. I would go Archie Gray at right center back. I would go Van de Ven at left center back and Ben Davies at left back. Or I would maybe even think about doing something crazy and Van de Ven at left back with Davies at left center back.
That could be nice. Yeah.
I think that would be worth considering. But
honestly, if that's the case, what I would probably do is something along the lines of Van de Ven at left back, Davies and Danso with Spence, and then do like an Archie Gray with maybe a Benton Kerr like double pivot type thing.
It'd be interesting. I think we tried to come out with the double pivot the first time we played.
We did.
Yeah. I mean,
or like
I'd be interested in that.
Or a Bergvall. I mean, do you think Bergvall's starting? Like, all right, I'll just throw it to you. Like, what is your? Let's say, okay, what are we saying for these injuries before we do our predicted lineups? Like, do we think Van de Ven's gonna play?
I do. Let's go with our predicted lineup, knowing that Van de Ven
what about Romero?
No, I don't think Romero features in this match, but I'm going to say Van de Ven does.
Okay, and then Madison? What about Madison? And Johnson? Like, I don't know about those two.
Yeah. Let's just say, because we haven't heard anything, that they're not featuring. And Van de Ven, obviously the differentiator is that he featured on Thursday
last week. Yeah.
Right. So let's say no Madison, no Brennan, and Van de Ven's back. I think we can go with the back line that we just covered, right? And Spence at right back, Archie Gray right center back. Actually, you know what? Do we want to predict Danso at right center back?
I personally, if I was making the team, that's who I'm going with. I think he's really good matchup for Liverpool. He's really fast and strong. I just like him. If he's that's such an Ange decision to make, because you got to read, like, is Danso up for this game? Like, is he gonna be up? Because I trust Archie Gray with my life at this point.
Yeah,
but if I want our best 11, I think Danso is part of that, and Archie Gray in the midfield.
All right, so let's do it. Let's go. Spence at right back, Danso right center back, Ben Davies left center back, and Mickey Van de Ven left back, which would be a total just ace up the sleeve, right?
Yeah, that would be so awesome.
I dig it. Then let's go. So we're going to go
Gotta
with
have Gray.
Archie has to play. So we'll say Archie and Bentaker as a double pivot. I personally would love to see Basuma not playing in this match.
He was so good against them last time, though.
Yeah, he was.
And Bentaker like had his concussion, and Basuma was just rock solid.
Oh, dude, you're right.
Like,
what
Archie
if we play center back? What are we talking about here? It's going to be Basuma and Bentaker, but we're not.
We can't have that. We can't have that.
We're going to stick.
This is our prediction. Like,
okay,
this is our lineup. This is our lineup.
All right. Then I'm going Gray and Bentaker as a double pivot.
Okay. Do you have Bergvall at the 10 then, or you have Kulu?
I do.
Okay,
I do.
Okay, I can rock with that. With that. And
then
Kulu on the right.
Yeah. Then the front three has to be Son, Richarlison, and Kulusevski.
Tell it. Sure. Nah, it's Richarlison. He played really well against Brentford too.
I agree. And honestly, Richie's
and it's fucking Liverpool, dude. Like, speaking of passion, dude, like Richarlison is gonna be passion. Like, I hope he doesn't get a red card.
Ready to go. Yeah, he's gonna be ready to go. I can't wait. He's gonna be ready to go. And honestly, I think his prowess in the box is something that could come in really handy in this match too. I do think that he's capable of putting his head on something.
That's true.
Alm would be too, right? But I think Richarlison needs to be deployed as a target forward for much of this match. I think the only asterisk over not playing Porro is he could be the guy who delivers that blow.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Right? Dude, wouldn't it be fucking crazy if Ange played Porro as the right wing in this match? It would be absolutely
sick. That would be sick.
Be nuts. But I would trust.
Should we just start getting crazy? Fuck it. Like, I would play Kulu at false 9 in this match. I would just be sending Sonny diagonal every play. Like,
seriously, dude.
We just come out with like the craziest team ever.
Why
like,
not?
Arnie's slot is so perplexed. It's like Kulu at the 9, Porro right wing, Archie Gray, like Bentaker double pivot, Van de Ven left back. All right, let's run it.
Archie Gray, Basuma, and Bentaker as dual 6'10".
Triple pivot.
Yeah, triple pivot, dude. Just let's go.
Yeah, why not, dude? Like, we're just out there trying shit. Like, it's got to work at some point.
Just scheming and cooking up a tactical masterclass, Ange.
To be honest, if the number one player if you had, I'll actually pose you this question. If you had 3 players at the club healthy, that are must plays in this game, who are those 3 players?
Anyone at the club?
Yeah, anyone at the club who's available. Like, who are the 3 players that have to play? They have to play in order for us to win or to go through.
And only available players.
Yeah.
Well, this is going to surprise you, but I'm not going to say Mickey Van de Ven. And I say that because first of all, we don't even know he's fit, but we've already beaten Liverpool 1-0 without him.
I agree.
Right? And so I don't include Mickey Van de Ven. Archie Gray for sure has to play.
Yep.
Kulusevski has to play. And Heung-min Son has to play. Those are my 3.
For
I really wanted to say Bentaker, but he's an honorable mention for me.
Yeah, I mean, we did beat them without him. For me, Sonny has to play. Spence, bro. Spence has to play. Like, he has defended Mo Salah. All right, and he could do the same on the right too, better than I've seen anyone. I think Son and Spence are my top 2, and then I want to say Lucas Bergvall just because of how insane he was last time we played them. But it's a toss-up between Bergvall and Gray. But, like, Spence, man. Like, I think Spence is so crucial for our defense against Liverpool.
So you don't say Kulusevski?
I don't. I just think, especially if he's on the right wing, I just think that's not like he's not going to be he's not going to make or break this result in my eyes. And and Spence and Son, if they're really on it, I think we have such a higher chance of winning.
The biggest thing for me with Kulusevski, and I think is all well said, but the biggest thing for me with Kulusevski is I low-key think he is the best hold-up player we have on this team. And I think hold-up is going to be important at some point in this match. I think.
Yeah, no Solanke is rough because he was really good against them.
Yeah, and yeah, you're right. I say with no Solanke, Kulusevski is our best hold-up option. So, but yeah, I didn't say Jed Spence, and I don't like that either because I agree. I mean, our lineup has Jed Spence on the right, but I won't be surprised if he's on the left.
Dude, yeah, he was unreal.
So,
and Kinski, it's got to be Kinski. What he did against them last time was unreal.
Yep.
Too.
Yep.
So
this could be a little bit more of a come back down to earth match for him, right, at Anfield. I think that debut is always special. You're super dialed in. You're just you're fully present in that moment, right? So, I don't think that we can expect Kinski to be as good as he was in that match every single time he plays, but he'll be ready to go, and I trust him from everything that we've seen. Yeah, so there you have it. To recap again, we're going Kinski in goal. We're going Jed Spence at right back. We're going Danso at right center back. We're going Ben Davies at left center back. Mickey Van de Ven at left back. Double pivot of Archie Gray and Rodrigo Bentancur with Bergvall as the 10. And then we're going the front three of Son, Richarlison, and Kulusevski. I would expect Tell to get minutes. I would expect James Maddison to probably come on at some point if he's able to go, right? Yeah, we'll see. Time will tell, and then you can probably expect Yves Bissouma to come on at some point as well. These are just obvious substitutions at this point. But, yeah, I think it's a strong lineup, and up the Spurs.
Sarr, I bet Sarr.
Sarr for sure will get minutes, maybe even before Bissouma.
He could even start. I wouldn't be shocked.
Wouldn't be surprised at all. Again, this is Max's and I's lineup. We don't expect the actual lineup to be this, right? But this is what we would do. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Sarr starts. Yeah, huge one on Thursday. That's all we can say.
Make sure you think that lineup gets it done?
It's possible.
With Van de Ven, I would feel so much better until it's the 12th minute and he's on the ground, can't move.
Yeah, exactly, which could happen. Honestly, we have to find a goal. If we don't, at the very least, we go into extra, or the best, we go into extra time, and they'll have the legs on us at that point. I would think.
Yeah.
And I don't like our prospects in a penalty shootout, not because of Kinski by any means, but they've just got a list of guys who can bury penalties.
Dude, and you do not want to fucking take penalties in front of the cop.
No.
You do not want to do that. And I expect Mikey Moore to play as well.
Agreed. He'll get minutes.
If we're chasing a goal primarily, and even if Sonny or Kulu is tired or whatever, I think Tell is bang on getting minutes because Richarlison can't play the whole game. So even if we're winning, I could see Tell just telling him just run out there. If the ball comes to you, just fucking kick it out of bounds. If we're winning,
yeah,
just go out there and press.
Yeah, I agree. And I just thought about this. There's all these talks about the conversation Ange had with Tell to get him to come. It's fairly well thought that Tell operates really well as a second striker in a 2, and I just wouldn't be surprised if at some point we see Ange experiment with a 2-striker system. I'm not saying in this match by any means, right? But I could see a world where there's some experimentation.
Would you want more of a target and then a shadow, or would you want more of a 2 fluid striker thing?
I mean, I think with Tell and Solanke, you can have 2 pretty fluid strikers.
Yeah, because wouldn't you think? I guess because of the lack of wingers, but I'm kind of surprised he hasn't tried that with Sonny and Solanke. So yeah,
Yeah, fair. That's a good point too. I think if it's Richarlison until you have more of a target man,
yeah,
and
for sure.
a shadow striker for sure. But yeah. Anyways, just an interesting thought. Let's look at Villa quick before we wrap up here with the loan watch and
Aston Villa, what a window!
yeah, no shit. Aston Villa had a wonderful window. For those who don't know, they've
Dude,
signed
Marcus
Marco
Rashford
Asensio.
is going to score on us.
Oh,
I will almost guarantee this
100%.
weekend.
He'll start. Asensio's there now. Marcos Asensio on loan from
Dude,
PSG.
Danielle Malin,
Daniel
permanent
Mallon.
from Dortmund. Like, why did they have our ideal window? Like, they
I
just
know,
brought in
right?
3 wingers, like, and a
Yep.
center back that we wanted. I'm
That
not
we
saying like
wanted.
this SC is the
uh,
best, but like we wanted him.
yeah, well,
And
they
they
were,
fucking sold John Duran for 80 mil.
dude, that John
Unreal.
Duran deal is wild. I mean,
Nah, honestly ruining the sport, man. Like,
oh, for
he's
sure. 100%.
21. Like, he's
Yeah.
21.
And there's the thought that by the end of his contract, he still won't even be in his prime and he can come back to Europe. Real quick on that, his wages are like over 300,000 a week. And he was on 70 at Villa, and before that he was on probably 10 at Chicago Fire. So in a year and a half, this dude has gone from 10K a week to over 300K a week. He's going to live in Bahrain, it came out, and he's going to commute to Riyadh for training, which is a pretty wild decision because it's like an hour and 20-minute flight from Bahrain to Riyadh each way.
Crazy.
But part of what you're talking about, and I'm not here to be holier than thou as an American, right? We've done our fair share of fucked up shit throughout the course of history, but essentially John Duran is not going to be able to live with his girlfriend because he won't be able to get a lease if he's living in Riyadh because they're not married. And it's common practice that for you to sign a lease, you have to prove documentation that you're married if you're both going to be on the lease, right? And they're not. And so they're living in Bahrain so they can live together, which, again, just another reason why you don't go to Saudi Arabia. As someone who very much respects women, it's not a decision I could make, right? And put my wife or significant other, and I'm not talking badly about people to make the choice, right? To each their own, but it just doesn't make sense for me. But he's earning over 300K a week. So I'm sure when Villa were offered 80 million for him, they said, how quickly can we sign and where would you like us to do it?
I mean, Brighton rejected 75 mil for Matoma.
Really?
Yeah. They just were like, no, we're all set.
Wow.
From some Saudi Arabian club. Let me look it up actually.
Wow. Crazy.
It was like, bro, what? 75 million from Al Nassr.
And that's who ended up signing John Duran as well. So
yeah.
Crazy. They have a front three of Sadio Mane, John Duran, and Cristiano Ronaldo. No. Yeah, anyway, Spurs take on Villa Sunday in the FA Cup. Sunday. Another typo. Gosh. I apologize to those who are viewing. Let me just go ahead and fix that so I don't confuse people. But Spurs travel to Birmingham on Sunday to take on Aston Villa in the 5th round of the FA Cup. We don't need to talk about this in immense detail. We've gotten pretty long here, but do you like the chances of us getting past Aston Villa in this match? What do you think?
No, I mean, I outlined it earlier. I think just the weight of the Liverpool game is going to carry over to like whatever the result is going to be too distracting. Like, I just don't think it's so hard to refocus.
Yeah.
And then to refocus into another cup match against like a Champions League side who had a great window and it's away. Although we kind of own Villa at the same time. Like, Ange has owned Villa. Like, we always thrash him. So there's that aspect, but I don't like our chances. to be honest.
I think our chances completely hinge on what happens on Thursday. I think if we beat Liverpool, I think we carry a ton of momentum into Aston Villa, and we go up there and win. And if we lose, I think we also get knocked out of the FA Cup, and that
it could all go down.
Yeah, it could be a really tough week for the club if that happens. And we end up putting all of our baskets in Europa League, which, don't get me wrong, there's a chance we could win Europa League, but there's still 24 really good teams in that competition, right? And a long, long way to go. So anyways, more reason why Thursday is so important. I think we'll see a similar lineup to what we just talked about versus Liverpool because there's not much variation in the squad. I do think you could potentially see a Mathys debut. Full debut in that match.
So too.
I think it's very possible. I think you probably see a little bit of rotation at the back, right? I think probably Danso gets a go, another go if he goes on Thursday, or maybe his first opportunity if he doesn't go on Thursday, right? Would be on Sunday.
Yeah, Sergio Reguilon.
Yeah, it's possible.
He's honestly been good when he's played. I know it's like Tamworth or whatever, but dude, I mean, he hasn't been that bad.
Yeah. But yeah, honestly, I don't think there's a whole lot else to say about Sunday, right? We'll hit you all with another episode in between Thursday and Sunday for sure. So by that time, there will be more to talk about. But yeah, we've gotten pretty long. Before we wrap, I want to make sure that we get to the Academy Watch and the Loan Watch. I think they're very much applicable right now with everything that's happening at the club. The outgoings, everything that happened Thursday, right? So as always, brought to you by our wonderful friends at the Wits End and Finney Ridge, Cascades, and Rainier Growlers and Puyallup. Max, what do you got for us?
Yeah, so we signed 3 teenagers. I'll go through them now. The first of the 3, I think, is the one that we're most excited about. That's Daniel Batty. He's 18 years old from the Manchester City Academy. Secondly, we signed he's a center mid, by the way. We signed a center back named Luca Fernell Gill from Liverpool Academy. Also 18 years old. And then we signed a winger from Chelsea's academy called Reese Alexander Russell Denny. So there you go. That's 4 first names as his full name, Reese Alexander Russell Denny.
Fantastic.
And he's from Chelsea. So there you go. We got 3 new academy lads. Some precedent for this, like it's not like the Archie Gray, Lucas Bergvall type signings because they haven't played first team football, but it's more like a Will Lancashire, Ashley Phillips type deal that we've got going on with these guys. So we'll see how they pan out. I mean, we've done this in the past. Typically, these aren't players that are going to be that involved in the first team, and they're more like an investment to sell them in the future. But we'll see this summer. Like they'll play for the 21s. We'll see. It's always nice to get some fresh blood in there, and then see what they got in the summertime. So and then that's pretty much all I got.
So the theme of Tottenham is if you are a super talented teenager, Tottenham Hotspur will come after you and they will find you and you will play for Tottenham Hotspur. So
for sure.
Long may it continue. I love the approach. Like I said earlier in the chat, I think this is the way that you really compete with the way that the game is shifting in terms of nation states owning teams and profit and sustainability rules. You either find a gem or you sell at a really, really high price on what you brought these guys in for, and you continue to be a super financially stable club, which if there was a financials ranking, we're number 1 across Europe without a doubt. I would think at this point, right? Maybe Real Madrid is one and we're a close second, right? And that's just because of over $1 billion in revenue that club does every season. It's insane, but Spurs have really positioned themselves financially in a way that very few clubs have. So like I said, long may it continue. That's going to do it for Emerald and Lilywhite, episode 32. We appreciate everyone who's been here. It's been a bit of a longer one, but transfer deadline day always calls for a longer podcast without a doubt.
Sure.
So we're glad that we were able to bring all the news to you. If you're interested in chatting, learning more, hearing more, sharing more, maybe we missed something, please get a hold of us on the socials. You can find us at Lilywhite on all social media platforms. You can find me at Scotchy Bird. You can find Max at Going Limbs. Most importantly, you can find us under the hub of Seattle Spurs at Seattle Spurs on all social media platforms. And as I always cover, make sure you sign up for the Gmail. It is seattlespurs@gmail.com. Shoot us an email. You'll get put on the list, and you'll get all kinds of information from watch matches to Spurs content, everything that you need to stay up to date, up to speed on all things Tottenham. And most importantly, please like and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate everybody who does. It really helps us grow the platform, but most importantly, it helps us grow Seattle Spurs. And the goal is to grow the Tottenham brand across the city of Seattle. We want to be bigger than every other Premier League club. We want to make sure when you're walking down the street, you're seeing Spurs kits and you're not seeing City kits and Liverpool kits and Arsenal kits, dare I even say it, right? So the more you like and subscribe, the more you share what we're doing, the more people come to Spurs, and that's the goal here. For Max, for myself, for Chang, for Keegan, for Steve, we appreciate everybody's time. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.